Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today's video is going to be another meal prep. For breakfast this week, I'm making bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast melt sandwiches. Really excited for that, and I'm also going to be making my queso chicken again with some brown rice. I'm trying to take full advantage of that 0-point rice on WW Purple. So thank you guys for stopping in. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already, and let's go ahead and get started. So for my chicken, I'm going to be making a marinade. I'm using about 1.5 tablespoons of spray butter, a little bit of lemon juice. I'm doing 1 tablespoon, and I'm going to add 1 teaspoon each of ground cumin, garlic powder, and onion powder. And then I'm also just going to sprinkle some chili powder in there. It's totally up to you on the amount, whether you like the heat or not. Then you're just going to mix everything together, and I'm adding it to about 1 pound of chicken breast that is already trimmed and ready and everything. So I'm going to make sure I get it all covered in that mixture. I chose to leave mine overnight, but as long as you leave it for, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, kind of up to you there. I did overnight and it turned out awesome. But feel free to just do an hour, whatever works for your schedule. So we're just going to let that sit in the fridge while it is all in that marinade. So once your chicken is done doing its thing, I'm going to go ahead and start on my rice. So I'm going to be using this brown rice since I am on the purple plan. It is 0 points, so I definitely wasn't going to use white rice and count the points for that. But if you're on blue or green, just make sure you account for that. It is still a really low point meal. So I'm going to do 2 cups of the brown rice. I'm adding in a whole container of low sodium chicken broth. I like to try to keep an eye on my sodium and my salt intake, so that's why I'm using low sodium. And then I'm adding a little can of no salt added tomato sauce. And lastly, I'm throwing in a chicken bouillon cube. Then we're just going to mix all that together and let it come to a boil. So while I'm waiting on that rice to come to a boil before I turn it down to a simmer and let it sit, I'm going to spray some olive oil into my pan, and I'm going to just go ahead and put my chicken breasts into the skillet so they can be cooking. Now I like to cook mine really slow on a low heat, so I'm doing a low medium, and I'm just going to cover it and let them sit there while the rice is cooking. Once your rice has come to a boil, you're just going to turn it down to simmer, put the lid on it, and since it is brown rice, we're going to let it sit for 45 minutes. Now I'm going to go ahead and get started on my breakfast meal prep. So I'm using the Appleton Farms center cut bacon from Aldi. This is my #1 favorite bacon. It is 2 slices for 1 point, sorry. And I'm going to be making it in the air fryer, which is my #1 favorite way to do it. And I'm putting about 4 to 5 slices in there, just as many as will fit. And I always do it on 380 for 10 minutes. It turns out exactly how I like it every single time. Continuing with my breakfast, I'm also going to go ahead and make my sheet pan eggs. You guys have seen me do this before, but I'm just going to spray the pan down with some olive oil spray. I'm cracking 6 eggs into this because I'm going to be making 5 servings, so I always add an extra just to make sure there is enough. I also like to add just a tiny bit of milk. Now split up into 5 servings. This does not add any points, so I never bother with counting it, but it's probably about 1 tablespoon or maybe 2. It's really not much. Then you can add your regular salt and pepper. We're going to mix it all up, throw it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 7 minutes. It does not take long at all. So while the bacon and eggs are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and pack up a few meal prep containers. I'll be having some of this for dinners, so I don't have to put it in individual containers. I can just do it buffet style. But for now, I'm starting with just some canned corn on the side for the queso chicken. I personally really like to have corn with it, but of course you could add, whatever type of vegetable or side you would like. Then I'm going to go in with some of my brown rice. It turned out really good, and I'm not measuring how much I'm adding. I'm just kind of covering the bottom. So make sure if you're on blue or green that you account for how much rice you're using. Now I'm going to take one of my chicken breasts and add this to each one. And then, since it is queso smothered chicken, I'm adding some of the queso blanco dip from Tostitos. You could also use any type of cheese you want, but this one specifically is 2 tablespoons for 1 point, which means this entire meal is actually only 1 point on purple. It's also really low on blue. I have made it before when I was on blue, so I will put that link in the description just in case you want to check it out. And of course, both of these recipes will be there as well. Now that the eggs and bacon are done, all I have to do is put everything together, and I'm choosing to make this on the George Foreman so that it's going to be like a patty melt type of style. So I'm using the 35 calorie bread, and it is the white bread. I prefer the Fit and Active wheat bread from Aldi, but I haven't been in a little while, so this is the only thing that is really close to me that I'm able to get for 1 point per slice. So I'm just going to spray some of that bread with some of the spray butter and set it on the grill. The cheese I'm using is also the 1 point Velveeta cheese. Just in case you guys are wondering, it's the regular Velveeta original. So I'm going to close up the bread and let that kind of harden a little bit so that hopefully it doesn't all just stick together and get mushy when I freeze it and reheat it. And then I'm going to add my eggs to each one of my sandwiches. Then I'm going to go in with a piece of the cheese, and then I'm going to add 2 pieces of the bacon. Then I'm going to top it off with another piece of bread sprayed with a little bit of butter, and I'm just going to close it and let it cook. As you can see, these turned out really delicious looking. I am very excited to try them, so make sure you guys come back throughout the week to check out what I eat in a day and see how they actually ended up tasting, which it's bacon, egg, and cheese on bread. So for me personally, I don't see any way that that could turn out badly. But I just really like how it's kind of like a breakfast grilled cheese. So I ended up with my queso chicken. Here is a look at that. And like I said, the rest of it I'm having buffet style. So I just put my chicken, rice, and corn separately. And each night for dinner, I will just put that together. And I made 5 of the 4 point breakfast sandwiches. I'm sure those are going to reheat very easily, and they're probably going to be freezer safe too. So I'm going to try that out. I'll be sure to let you guys know how it goes. That is my meal prep for the week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you next time.